Ready, and action! What? Troy.
Didn't I promise you the last time we met that I would kill you if I saw you again? Who wants to see me? Huh? You want to get ready for going up to the building? Whoa.
Gorski.
Right. Okay, reset it.
Okay, no. That's the camera.
And cut! Cut!
It's already too late. We're going to the subway. You're not gonna take a shot at it. You ready to dance, sister?
Cut. Thank you. Stop.
Ready, 3, 2, 1, action!
A ulička, a začátek, a konec, a ulička.
drop it. And once you drop it, you grab the wheel, and then you go and he grabs the wheel.
1, wait!
No, she grabbed the gun. Get away. No, she grabbed the gun.
It's almost like
You're
she
coming down at the
pushes-
same time.
Yeah, exactly. She's almost runs over Finn, right?
Yeah.
She's freaking out, she's coming out, she's got a free moment without the babysitter who's still coming down there.
B-Mark. B-Mark? No.
Frame. Okay, and action!
To watch. Now I have my first few questions. I hope don't seem too redundant, but forgive me. It seems, as a culture today, we're losing a little bit of our faith, and I don't know if it's because the world's moving so fast, or maybe we're not moving fast enough. But do you have faith, sir? Do you have faith in humanity?
Yes, I do have faith in humanity, and I will guard that faith in humanity against any cynicism to my dying day. But I'm the son of an idealist. I'm the son of, artists that have, I'm an artist. I think by being an artist, you have to have some kind of faith in humanity. Otherwise, you wouldn't be an artist. You wouldn't expect anyone to get what you're saying in your art.
Do you have a spiritual faith, or do you have the kind of faith that I think a lot of people is more about, I have trust in myself, I have faith in myself?
I have a spiritual faith.
It's interesting in the context of the film because you're such a man of blank morality.
You're so right. You're so right. fascinating and interesting about playing that role. But the real me, very strong with spiritual faith. It's interesting because part of the subtlety of the Michelle Yeoh character was that representation of that kind of spiritual faith.
This vision, though, of the future is so bleak.
Yeah.
And Melanie was saying in her mind, we're not too far away from what the world is presented in Babylon AD. Do you share the same belief?
I don't know. I know that when we were making this movie, we're making this movie about my character having to export somebody through borders around Russia. Now you pick up the New York Times and you've got borders increasing around Russia, specifically Russia and Georgia and all that. And you see the seeds of something that is scary.
I guess maybe we're not too far away after all. Then you're scaring the shit out of me.
No, I'm just saying, there, in a general sense, I think that, I have my own philosophy about borders and what I think, how the border thing is working and how it's
not.
And how it's not, and where we're going to be in a few years with borders. But everyone might think I'm crazy, and my view may be crazy.
We'll have to pick this up 10 years from now, because then we're going to go back and look at this and thinking you were right. I hope not, but
well, it's a tricky thing, because the borders will be increased and strengthened in a way no one will recognize. No one will ever see them being built. The walls... The walls of China, so to speak, that are going to divide our world are going to be constructed while we're not paying attention. What we'll be focused on is the virtual world where there are no borders. So the physical world is going to build its borders while we indulge further into the internet, into a world where there are no borders. And when you're locked in front of that screen, you'll never see the wall being built.
And then we're going to be complaining and surprised.
And they're going to be claiming, what do you mean? I just want to...
Vin, what I liked about this project is that it really had a very specific point of view. It was a smart point of view.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, with all the hardware that the film has, and there's a lot of great action sequences, humanity must still peek through for the journey to be something a little more, to offer more depth. Yeah. Which did you find more challenging then? Because there's a lot of interesting sequences that require a lot of brute strength.
Yeah.
But then there's some really lovely moments between the characters being just themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and both challenging in different ways. I become the character, as crazy as that sounds, live in that character, and don't think of anything as being more challenging than the other. Might not be the smartest thing, because when I'm in character, I just, if it's, you jump off the roof, I jump off the roof. And it's less of a specific thing that's more challenging. It's the overall, the more you delve deep into a character, the more exhausting it is on you, right? That, you hear all the time about actors that go and do these really deep performances and then need a year to try to detox and cleanse. Because it is done right and done with integrity. Becoming a character is a heavy deal.
It ain't easy. I gotta tell you.
It ain't easy. You live in that space. I mean, that's the if you're striving to do something significant in your craft, you end up living in a space, and that space ain't always a comfortable space or a beautiful or
what I liked about Mathieu's aesthetic is that he gave it a multicultural face. Thank God. And why do you think that enhances this movie as a result?
Yeah, that for me, that's an unfair. I think any film that has a multicultural face is enhanced, personally. But I think it plays to this movie in a really good way. the Michelle Yeoh character was initially written as in the book, in the Moorish book, written as an old French kind of typical nun. Mm-hmm. And I think by casting Michelle Yeoh in that role as opposed to that traditional, she was able to bring an unspoken spirituality, a spirituality that you didn't have to really talk about too much, but she brought it to the screen. She brought it to the role, and it helped the overall picture.
And Melanie's an interesting face as well, too, because she is something angelic about her, but then when she's kicking some ass down that New York street, there's fearsomeness in there.
Fearsome.
Well, and she's a new face, too, which is exciting to watch.
So exciting. I think she's one of our big finds in the movie. I think we'll be seeing a lot more of Melanie.
You had a vested interest in it, as I can tell. So why is it now, at this point in your career, Vin, do you want to have more control over just what legacy you're going to leave behind? Because now you're involved. And they can hear it. I can hear it in some of your answers that you're
Yeah. I've done enough now. You reach a place where you realize dreams, which is surreal, a surreal experience. I want my work to be significant. Mm-hmm. I take great pride in the art. I come from an artist housing that was government subsidized in New York, which were basically projects for artists that made less than $10,000 a year. That's how I was raised in. It's the environment I was raised in. These are artists that didn't care about any kind of, and that's kind of affected me in Hollywood, because sometimes I don't take the big Hollywood picture payday thing, and that causes a ripple because the studio needs that thing, and I'm too idealistic, and the script isn't good, and no one really gives a shit whether I think the script is good or not. Mm-hmm. But they care when they know that I care, that I'm invested in a movie. So I've had, I've had my challenges with that, because sometimes I can be too precious and too involved. Mm-hmm. But I stand by the work that I do, and I stand by the films that I do. And my philosophy about making movies is that everybody included in that process of making a movie should feel that. Mm-hmm. I feel like the third wardrobe assistant should feel just as, accountable for the movie as the director. That's my own thing.
Your philosophy. This movie is part statement picture and part visceral entertainment, and Mathieu is skilled at bringing humanity to some very extraordinary and extreme situations. How would you define this film? Do you think it's a little more one or the other, or what's your take on Mathieu's vision in the end?
I think the fun of this was, taking something that had the action component, or the quantity of action, or the amount of action, or the quality of action, the action content, and then string it together, if you will, all these sequences, with this visceral French auteur style, and that's what the fun of doing this film was, and the challenge of doing this film, and what was attractive about doing it. I had just come off of this incredible experience of working with Sidney Lumet. Mm-hmm. I was hungry for different kinds of directors. The fact that it was an action piece was a comfort zone. That was the easy part, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And I was going to go, and that my objective there, what was attractive was having a visceral take on an action movie.
And let me tell you, it's visceral.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel's a real pleasure talking to you, sir. Thank you so
Always.
much.
Thank you. Tell your mother I said hello.
I will. You shut that off before you said that, because I have no proof.
Oh, God.
It's just a warning. Just be careful because it could happen in 10 years. And even if I am optimistic,
I had a technical. Sorry.
Okay.
Technical.
What do we need to do then?
From the top, please. The first question.
Oh,
Excuse me.
oh yeah,
that's okay.
Well-
Well, let's begin to kind of like, you want to readdress it a different way, we'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
So, it's a blessing. You're the one who's sitting in the chair all day, so I'm sorry, Melanie.
no. You're lucky it's the beginning of the day.
Yes, sir.
Melanie, we're talking about the issue of faith in the beginning, and do you have faith? Do you have faith in not just humanity, but just in general? I mean, do you have that spirit in you?
Well, I have the feeling that I have faith in people and in humanity, and I'm kind of optimistic, but I don't need to have the religion to save me. But I can understand that people have to jump on it just to feel more secure and not alone. But for me, I'm feeling not alone, and I just want to arrive at the end of my life and saying, well, I didn't hurt anybody, and I'm happy about what was my life, and I helped people, and I had a baby, and just do not have any regret at the end of my life.
It's a very mature outlook. So it's not an easy one to maintain because the world's a crazy place. And the world in this one is actually quite desperate and bleak. And do you have hope for us? You're saying that we're probably not too far away from what...
Well, fortunately, I have hope, first of all, because I had a little boy 2 months ago, and I just hope that his life will be fine, and when I won't be here anymore, he will be happy and have a good life. But it's true that I have the feeling that we are really not far away from this world. The world of the movie. It's like maybe in 10 years we'll be right on it, and it's gonna be sad. So maybe it's a warning just to let us know that we have to be careful about the planet and everything, and the terrorism and all this stuff. But even if I'm frightened by what become the world, I'm hopeful. Yeah.
I love the name of the character, Aurora, Light. It's a beautiful name for a very interesting role. What gave you light in playing her? Because this is not a very easy film to be a girl in.
It's true that you said about her name, and Aurora means the beginning of the day, and it's going to be the beginning of her life. So we're going to follow her during this violent and surprising and crazy mad journey. And well, I have a lot of tenderness for Aurora. I mean, she was alive. When I realized that I found her voice, meaning because it was in English without a French accent, it took a while before feeling a new voice. And when I found her in my voice, then it was in my body, and it was a good feeling. And yeah.
So I find that these types of movies are hard, and not only just the physicality of it all, because I think for us to really want to be part of this journey, you have to make sure there's a humanity in this. And so Mathieu is a very intuitive artist. He's very much about the humanity of things. This is a very interesting project for that reason. What did you find harder for you as an actor? The scenes when there's great action and effects, or the moments where you had to give Aurora she had to be the center of attention, this focus for the story?
Well, I really loved the marketplace because we had in the same time the action, and about Aurora we can feel her emotion growing and growing, and arrived at this point where everything she has to scream everything, and at this moment the explosion arrived. Do you follow me? But it was such a tough scene for me. also because it was the first day of shooting, so I was a bit shy and a bit anxious and nervous, but it was so cool.
That's the way to start a job. You go to a marketplace and like explosions and people. Oh, I don't envy your role at all. Also, but you see these moments like at the end in New York. You're rocking that trench coat. You look fantastic, and yet you have to give this angelic look. And how do you find that stillness to still kind of come across as being authentic and real?
Sorry?
That stillness, that really kind of like you became almost something quite angelic to watch in that one sequence.
But for me, I imagined that Aurora, her private journey was to accomplish herself as a woman, just to know who she is and to know who she is as a woman. And at the beginning of the movie, you have this little girl, this little lamb, and bit by bit she starts to change, and the woman come out. And at the end, it's more a tiger than the lamb at the beginning. And it was, I mean, she will discover love, and it changed a person to discover this new feeling.
I love the part where you actually can throw a punch. I respect girls who look realistic throwing a punch when you're going down the cars at the end and you see this. I'm like, okay, she's got the hook. That works.
Thank you.
I loved the fact this film has a multicultural look. This isn't a traditional movie world. I mean, the movie went to great lengths to give it a very global feel. Why do you think it's important to have the cast reflect the fact that we're not just one type of person? We're all these different types of people.
I don't understand.
It's a multinational cast.
Yeah.
So why do you think actually enhances a movie as opposed to being kind of like fake in that respect? Because it's not often you get to see a multicultural cast be in a film of this type, an action film. Do you think it helped the movie to have people like Vin Diesel, like Michelle, to be the leads of the film?
But I didn't think like that. For me, it was them, and it was nobody else could replace them. So I don't know. What should I answer?
No, just do you think it reflects an honest look at the world? Basically, the world is made up of a lot of different people, not just the Hollywood world, it's just certain types of faces. You know, we all look very pretty, and these people weren't very pretty. They were just normal, looking like they were living a hard life. And I wonder if that helps the film become more realistic to watch as a result.
I don't know. I'm not inspiring luck for the moment. I'm sorry.
That's fair. Do you want to talk about Matthew? Just what he brought to the film. Why do you think he's the right director for a project like this?
I have a lot of admiration for Matthew, first as a director, but also as an actor, because he's such a great actor and he made beautiful choice. He did beautiful movies, and then as a director, he's very inspiring. I mean, he's very instinctive and spontaneous, and it's good to feel that he needs the danger to create something and to be on the line and on this thin line, you know, and he has such a great energy. He can change his mood. It could be bad and it could be very high. You know, he's very hard to understand. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to observe him a lot, and well, he trusts me. He came to see me at the theater. He said, "I want this girl," and I know that it wasn't easy to say it's gonna be her and nobody else for the Fox, and he was very passionate, and I like him so much.
Last question: are we in for something special? Is this movie something unique for audiences to want to go see?
Well, I saw the movie 2 days ago, and I came out. And when the movie was finished, I was just such in a good mood. I mean, the music was great, the story works, and the action scene are great. A girl, a good man, it's not bad, and the rhythm is good. I was just thrilled. I spent an hour and a half, such a good hour and a half. So I only hope the audience will have the same feeling as me.
I think they will. Melanie, it was a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. It was nice
Thank
meeting
you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Warren.
Oh, Vin Diesel.
Oh, wait, hold on one second. I feel like I've just walked in on something.
You're really Vin Diesel. You're
You
so
know that's
Vin
a
Diesel.
saying, right? Have you heard that before?
Never.
Oh, Vin Diesel, your ass. That's a saying.
You're kidding me.
It's a shit you have to put you in your place.
I swear to God.
Not you,
do
but
people?
whoever you see that.
Have you heard
It's
that?
like, yeah.
You've heard that before, right?
Mhm.
Have you heard that before?
Are you shitting me?
No, it's not. You've
I
become
hand
part of
on
the
my heart, I
you know,
swear to God.
That's bizarre.
Oh, Vin Diesel, your ass.
Mhm.
It means I'll, kick the shit out of you.
That's so funny.
No,
You guys-
it's funnier when I say it.
What's this really coming to?
Are you guys
Okay.
ready?
Well, let's
I don't
see.
know.
Are we?
You guys ready?
Go for it.
Yeah. So Vin, what brought you to the project?
You guys are really.
No, but I'll tell you because
I'll Vin Diesel your ass.
I know
if you
exactly.
ask me the wrong-
But I had because I'd read the script before you guys went into production, and there was a quote in the script that I loved. That was, "You always have a choice. That's the catch." That really made me fall in love with the script. Made me really excited about this
Wow.
movie.
Wow.
So I just don't know like what it was when you're going through that you're like, that's why I'm really interested with this whole
Wow.
story.
Wow. Wow. I wasn't really familiar with Moris Dantek's book prior to the movie, so I can't say, oh, it was a book I loved it. It was really an opportunity to do a film that lived somewhat in the action world, which was a comfort zone, but branched off in the sense that it was from a French auteur's perspective. And I think that is what made this so interesting a project for me to be involved in. And I think that it ultimately sets it apart from the other films. As somebody in the film business, whether you're an actor, whether you're a director, you ultimately want your filmography to be substantial. And sometimes you do films that you want to include into your filmography. It's not just so myopic, it's more about a bigger picture. Mm-hmm. And in a way, I had just come off working with Sidney Lumet. I was very excited about trying, films with different types of filmmakers. And this was an opportunity to do a film with a European sensitivity that I thought was a cool opportunity.
Mm-hmm. No, I think the movie really works. The thing that I love is that it's the dystopian future. So you're working on this whole kind of sci-fi, here's where we're going, because obviously we're watching you and you're just kind of where you're at right here
Sure.
as our guy. In 2000 and, I guess we're in 7, 8 now? I lose track. But then, we're so far into the future and just what we're doing is the things that you have to do, the borders that come down, current state of affairs and the action and just everything.
Sure.
And the movie captures that. And I just didn't know if you felt that when you're making it, if this is what...
Yeah, it's interesting because what was happening in current events at the time were influencing, if you can believe this, the backstory. No one really imagines how much of a backstory you really have to kind of create, if you will, in order to realize a full-fledged character, right? Because every character has its past, and its past generally is what's influencing who they are. And at the time, soldiers were being sent back to Camp Pendleton to be charged or tried for killing civilians in Iraq. The character Tura, the backstory, as I understood it, was a character who, as a teenager, was sent over to the front line and lost a friend. And when he lost a friend, went berserk went crazy, and then was called on his action after not wanting to be there in the first place. And summoned back to America to be charged, and decides not to go back. And lives over under the protection, if you will, or the family of these Russian mercenaries.
And so now he's got this huge job, and he's got to go through
Now
it.
he's got this huge job, and he's
you've got like the snowmobiles, and the submarines.
There's a lot of things going on. And it's an opportunity now to come home. And I think a lot of this movie was about coming home. I think a lot of this movie was about coming home, and what that's like. What's crazy is now, we've got this thing. We've got real border issues in Russia, Georgia, that are taking the spotlight. It's interesting that we made this movie about those Russian borders, and now, as of a couple of weeks ago, it's become front page news.
Mm-hmm. And then what was like working with this team of like the stunt coordinators? Because I feel like everybody involved in this movie has another idea about a better way to do the stunt and to make the action like to another level.
Totally. Great stunt team. We used a guy named Alon who worked on the Bourne series, who really, really brought that mercenary fighting style, which was less of a polished, athletic fighting style and more of a kind of resourceful fighting style. We had a second unit director, Bob Brown, who was incredible, who really got us a lot of that rich Sweden stuff. And then of course we had real mixed martial artists like Jerome Le Bonheur, who brought everything to those scenes, the authentic kind of realism that you see in those scenes. And then we had the Sludnecks, which was a huge find, which is guys that have just turned snowmobile stunts into a real sport. And they have millions of followers. And they went out to Sweden, and they were incredible. And they taught me how to do these jumps. And they're in the movie, and they do all those great 360s in the air. Really cool.
Yeah. No, it's great. Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Let me get somebody else in here.
All righty. How many more?
Already. Because I'm going to... And speed. Can you tell me a little bit about your character?
It's a young girl, like 20 years old, and she was raised in a convent. And we're gonna follow her during her journey. And it's gonna be such a violent journey for her because she will discover the world. And she will discover the injustice of the world. And so she will feel new emotion, new feelings, and she will know who she is after her journey.
That's great. What was it like working with Vin Diesel?
Actually, it was great to work with Vin Diesel. I'm not used to work with a famous American star, so it's always exciting. And I was very happy because when you arrive on the set, you really don't know who he will be, if he's going to be a nice guy, if he's going to be an asshole. You have no idea. And finally, it was just a sweet guy, very confident. He trusts me, and we spent 5 months together, and it was cool to know that he was behind me and close to me, close to my shoulder.
Did you get a sense that he was taking care of you? Only just because it seems like he's obviously taking care of you in the movie, and I just didn't know if that kind of helped with your relationship as you kind of...
Yeah, he's passionate, and he has good feelings, so he's a positive guy, and because we were happy about working together, and it works, because sometimes it doesn't work, and we had the chance that it works between us. I mean, the relation between his character and my character is just a beautiful story, so we were happy that we found something together.
That's great. And there's so much action in the movie. Can you tell me a little bit about making like those scenes and the sequences, and Michelle Yeoh, obviously having so much experience and any help that she gave you did you have just the best time with them? I can only imagine it was fantastic.
But I'm not used to do action movies, so it's always great. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you know that you're gonna have such a great sequence to shoot today. It will be the explosion, or it will be a skidoo chase, and everything is unusual. And it's just great to have this kind of experience.
How was Michelle? Was she helpful?
She's very helpful, and she's such a delicate, elegant woman. She's very polite. She says hello to each person set every morning, and she was the mother figure on the set.
And you were all over Europe. What was that like shooting?
Sorry?
You were all over as far as Europe goes with the shooting. You know, you're just in so many different locations. What was that like putting the script together and just like being out in the middle of nowhere in the freezing cold and then just kind of making that progress to your locations? Just the different locations that you shot at?
Well, we were in Prague for 5 months. We went to Sweden for 3 days, and it was like vacation Sweden, because it was the skidoo, and it was like we were a little child and happy on our skidoo and to have fun. And Prague is such a great city to work, and plus for me it's really close to my home, so on the weekend you can take a plane and go back to Paris, see your family, and go back on Monday morning to work. So
That's great. And then how has it been, just, you know, you're trying to get to New York in the film, and now you're kind of in the city now. Like, how is the city different from the New York City in the movie to the New York City that you're in right here?
Do you recognize New York in the movie or not?
A little
because
bit. It's
not
so
my
different.
City, but
Yeah.
it's like it seems New York, but it's not. And I think it's good because it's an anticipation movie. We don't need to have New York as today. So I think it was an interesting set.
And then how was working with Matьё Kассовицem? Because he's phenomenal too.
It's great because first of all he's French, so it's always good to have a French director, because when you're completely lost you can speak in French and everything is easier. And also he's such a great director. I mean, he knows how to put his camera as nobody else knows, and he's very spontaneous, and he needs to feel the danger before shoot, and he likes the improvisation, and he has a lot of energy, and we were very, you know, we were very close to each other together. We trusted each other.
That's great. I think that's all I have. I mean, you were fantastic in the film, so welcome to this crazy world that we're in, because it was a really fun movie to watch. I had a good time. Did you have a good time making it?
Yeah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank
Bye.
you.
It's the story of a mercenary called Turop, who lives in a close future of ours in Eastern Europe, and is on a mission to bring a girl to America through the refugee path, because all the borders are closed, and he doesn't know who that young lady is, and he will discover it during the journey. Usually I love to direct my own screenplays, because usually it is what you want to say, so it's easier to do your own things. It's a little more stressful also, because you're responsible for everything you're saying or not saying, so it's a lot of work. It's easier to jump on the bandwagon and just use somebody else's script and have producers telling you, okay, we're going to change that and change that. But I enjoy the pain. That's the same. I'm wondering. I don't see any particular genre that Babylon AD can be linked to. It's a mix of different mood and different kind of movies. My goal was to go back to what action movies were during the 80s, before the CGI era, before everything became more and more complicated. To be able to get what we needed, you don't need as many electronics, CGI stuff. Try to be get as many things as you can from the set, and also try to get that tears and sweat, and try to put it on screen. That's something that really misses from the movies, the action movies that I go see today. I miss that kind of involvement, so we try to go to that extent. I would call Babylon AD's look low-tech. It's low-tech sci-fi, meaning that it's in the future, but the technology is not as pristine as we can see in normal science fiction movies. We're more based on characters and story, and the technology we use is more to describe the state of our situation in a close future. But we didn't want to put the technology too up in front, not to cover up the story and everything. So I would call it low-tech sci-fi. And my link to the link that I see from that movie to something that already exists or existed was a comic book series that was released during the 80s called Heavy Metal. They did a animated film after that based on that comic book. It was a magazine that was released every month, and it started in France. It was released during the 80s at the end of the punk era, and it was a rebirth of comics, a rebirth of graphics, and it was the start of a new breed of comic books in America. And that Heavy Metal, that series was very specific. And I own all of their, Mobius started there, all the big artists from the 80s and that are still here today, people who designed Blade Runner, all the movies that Mad Max comes from that era, Blade Runner comes from there, all these movies that, that are coming from that era. That's where I try to link Babylon AD and Heavy Metal, I think, reflects what I wanted to do, which is punk, post-atomic, low-tech story. All the scenes were pretty challenging to film. There was everything was difficult from A to Z. We didn't have one easy scene. Even the smaller scenes were not easy to do because we had to get the story right. So it's even more complicated to get the story right with intimate scenes than on big scope scenes, which demands more firepower but less intelligence. So everything is on a different level, everything is very complicated. Locations are, the basic core of what your movie will look like. So when you're not trying to CGI everything and don't shoot on a blue screen 90% of the movie, then the location, the real location are very, very important to be sure that you will get the mood that you want. So yeah, we travel. I put a lot of energy to get the locations right because that's where we get everything. This is where you have your movie, and after that you can sugarcoat it. A lot of things will be added to it. CGI will be added to it. Sound will be added to it. But mainly, if you want, especially on a movie like that, where I wanted a big scope movie, like really a lot of production value, not to say, oh, look at what we got, but to try to express what the future can be. Locations were very important. Yeah, we shot the movie in Prague, in Czechoslovakian Republic. So we shot the movie in Prague. We have, so many different locations. I was overwhelmed myself, and everybody was overwhelmed by the scope of every scene was bigger than the next, and than the previous one, and so it was. We went to the neighborhood of Prague to shoot like 500 kilometers away, to shoot in a abandoned factory, abandoned mill that was there from the Russian era and abandoned. We shot in Barendorf. We recreated a huge square in Harlem. We went to Sweden to shoot some Ski-Doo sequence. We created a submarine emerging from the ice. We had so many things. We had like a convent lost in the middle of the mountain. We found it's overwhelming. I can't even describe them myself, because when you look at the movie, sometimes it's too much. But it's what it is. If you want to tell the story of somebody who's crossing, like going across almost half of the planet to go to America, and if you want to try to tell something about the future, you had to really get it big. It was very interesting to mix 3 different actors and from different backgrounds, different age, and with different careers. They are not the same people that you are not used to see them in the same kind of movies. And of course, I love triangles in movies, because that's where you get the most interactivity in between characters. So, I needed Turop. Vin Diesel is very specific, and I wanted to bring a Vin Diesel that we've never seen before, which is like somebody gritty and not as clean and sharp as he was, but a little more heavy and rougher. And of course, in front of him, I needed the total opposite. So I chose Mélanie Thierry, which is a little angel, very small figures and just blue eye, blonde girl, beautiful, and totally the opposite. And I needed a chaperone in the middle, somebody who can do the buffer in between these 2 characters. And I chose Michelle Yeoh, because she represents that kind of that Asian spirit of being able to be zen and also being a fighter, and she can understand both camps. And that was what I wanted with her, and that's where I got my triangle. I got 2 opposites and 1 in the middle. Well, Vin has something that it's missing from movies today. He has muscles. He's a big guy, and I needed somebody who really was, imposing for the story, because he represents what we are. He represents our future, and I need somebody as could be rough and tough, and also has layers of understanding, and that's what I saw in Vin's work in previous movies, and that's where you see more and more in each movie he's doing, is that he's trying to be more than just muscles, and to become a full-on character. And right now, if you're looking for somebody imposing, there is none. There's a lot of amazing actors, a lot of amazing action actors, but no more Bruce Willis, no more Schwarzenegger or Stallone. It's only him now. So I really wanted him for this part, because I thought it would represent what Turop should be the most.
Well, for me, Babylon AD is a mix of several genres. It's between the action movie, of course, and it's the science fiction, the anticipation of the future, and the road movie also, and with this special French touch also. First, I was drawn to the story and to the characters of the relationships and their evolution during the story. and I was very touched by Aurora's character because she was very moving, and I liked her nature and how she is. And then the trickiest thing is it's not easy to have this imagination of this future anticipation of the future. It's not easy, and you have to spend time with the director and go in his world and understand what world he was creating. So it took a bit more time to understand what kind of action it's gonna be and this kind of thing. Well, Aurora is a young woman who has never seen the world because she was raised in a convent for 20 years, and she was far away from the reality. And so when she will discover this world, it's gonna be so violent for her, and because of the injustice and because it's just a chaotic and a devastated world. So because she's different and she has this sensitivity very strong, it's gonna be huge and frightening for her, but it's gonna be also surprising. And then about her name, Aurora means the beginning of the day, and it's gonna be the beginning of her life. So it's gonna be the beginning of her life, and at the same time, her private journey is to fulfill herself as a woman and to know who she is before she dies, because she has this animal instinct that she knows somewhere that she's gonna die young, and that's why she doesn't have time to lose. It was few challenges for me. The first challenge was, but first I was very happy and excited to work with Matьё Khassovitz, because I have a lot of admiration for him, for his work, and also as a director, but as an actor, because he's just amazing as an actor. He's just great. And then I had the luck to have this part and to bring her alive with all my imagination, and everything was possible to create. And the other challenge, and it was a big deal, because I had to do the part in English without this Frenchy accent. And it wasn't easy, so it was a part of the challenges. I was at the theater, I was doing a play, and he was looking for his Aurora. So he came by this theater, and he realized that I could have been a Jewish man, but also maybe his lead actress, and well, then he left just right after the show, and I saw him the day after, and he said, well, we need to talk, we need to have lunch together. So we had lunch, and he explained me the story, and I was so excited, of course. So, and the thing is, when I'm very excited, I just need to scream, and I thought that it wasn't very polite to scream just in front of him. So I went directly to the restroom. It was the best thing to do. And I screamed for a long time. And then I went back and I pretend that everything was normal. And I was very happy, but it was normal, so I was very professional. And I got the script, and I was just, I had tears in my eyes. Well, the scene where I had this physical and the emotional thing were very strong and very tough was, of course, the submarine scene, because I was a bit nervous about shooting this sequence, and because it was the climax of my character first, and then you always have to deal between you have to abandon yourself and to let it go, but at the same time you want to protect yourself, so you just want to take a long breath and then to jump on it, and well, sometimes it's frightening and you can arrive at this point when it's so dangerous. And the other thing is, well, we don't see it in the movie because he cut a lot of things, but doesn't matter. I had to learn few different languages, foreign languages, like the Arabic, the Hungarian, the Mongolian, the Russian. And I was nervous about letting go my body and forget about my voice. And well, it was a lot of things disturbing me, but at the end, I think we did it. Well, I did few on my own stunts, but the easier ones, of course, like running or something like that, or just jump. But I learned Aikido for a couple of months to do the Brooklyn Squares sequence, and it was very fun. And I realized that I was kind of a tomboy, and finally I didn't mind to have some bruises or scratches on my knees, on my arm, or everywhere. It was just I had this feeling like I was a warrior, and it was funny. Well, Matьё Kассовицем, well, I love to work with Matthew during this whole shooting, even if it wasn't easy every day. But he's not this kind of director who needs to do a lot of rehearsal at the table. He prefers to be on set, to feel the energy and to feel the pressure and to feel the decor and to see how his actors will live in it. No, he likes the improvisation, and he needs to have this pressure on set and to feel the danger, and because just he's an instinctive guy. Oh, Vin Diesel is quite a number. On set, he's very quiet, actually, and he needs to be very concentrated and very serious when he's about to shoot. And then fortunately, we had luck to share moments together and over a glass of wine, and to talk about our characters and our relationships between Aurora and Rob, and to know how we can have this beautiful relationship between them, and to create something between Aurora and Rob. So, and it was very pleasant. With Michelle Yeoh, well, she is the most elegant, delicate and humble woman. She's just a beautiful example of patience and kindness. I was very impressed to see her, how this tiny little girl can fly through the air, and she can destroy everything on her path. And the thing I remember is, and actually it's rare, that she arrived right on time, and she said hello to each person on the set, and we were like 100, so it's great. Sometimes every morning you don't have the patience to say hello to 100 person, and she was the mother figure on this set. Of course, she was a mother figure also for me and for Aurora, so I follow her during the whole shooting and during this whole adventure. Well, Aurora needs, because she never met a man before, so when she's gonna meet him, he will be one day maybe her brother, and the other day he will be the father, and another day just a friend, and of course, because she needs to fulfill herself as a woman, she will discover the desire to a man. Well, Sister Rebecca is the mother, and she's the chaperone, and she needs to protect her daughter, and she will give all her life and all her heart to be close to her and to defend her, and because she is the precious thing she never had. For sure, it gave ambiguity to her character, to Sister Rebecca, for a nun, to know how to fight like that. So obviously it's so ambiguous. Babylon AD is not only a movie of action movie, it requires to think, and I think it's just above the action and the road movie. It demands time to know what kind of world we're in. Well, Babylon AD is between the entertaining movie and also because with this French touch about the film d'auteur. I have the feeling that I grow up as an actress and as a person also, of course it's linked, but and well, I'm just happy to be in this kind of movie. I had the luck to be in this kind of adventure, and I'm conscious that it's not gonna happen every day, and one day, but one time in your life, it's already good. So I hope I will have new surprise. Voilà.
Well, it's obviously a science fiction story, but at the same time, it's a science fiction story that takes place very soon. So, in a way, it's our almost future. It's the present gone bad, and it's an adventure story which has philosophical, humanitarian, or human, I would rather say, extensions. It's definitely an adventure movie. But it's got food for thought in it. Well, first of all, what attracted me to the idea of taking part in the project is having the possibility of working with Matьё Kассовицem, because I'm a great fan of his work. I adored La Haine, I adored Rivière Pourpre, Red Rivers. I'm also a fan of science fiction. I used to read Ray Bradbury when I was a kid, or people like Lovecraft. I'm very drawn to it, especially when it's about people and very specific human situations within an imagined situation in the future. I don't like so much spaceships and things like that, but I love when it's a reality that we know really well that is slightly altered, which is the case in Babylon AD. And I didn't know the book, and I haven't read any of his books either. I was really drawn to the idea of working with Mathieu. My character d'Arcandier is a pure construction, I want to say, of Mathieu's imagination. I mean, of course, he has a function in the book, and he's definitely described. But the way we have constructed him was really a combined work of several people's imaginations, like Mathieu's and the people who made the costumes and the people who were working on the makeup, and also I had a little contribution. He is okay. In the world of cliches, he would be the mad scientist. He would be the crazy professor who has invented something that he can't control anymore. In this particular instance, he has invented. He's a great professor of genetics. He has worked on the reproduction of human beings, and somehow he's pushed that so far that it's gone bad. And he's really in the past he was really in trouble because he's cloned people. He's pushed the research a little too far. And in a way, he's been saved by the character that's portrayed by Charlotte Rampling, in the sense that she has offered him a job, which is to create this girl, this messiah that her religion needs. And in order to do that, he plunges into the research, and he will create the first human being that will be completely raised by computers and completely fed intellectually by computers. And which is a completely crazy idea and a very dangerous idea, so he goes along with that. He's mad enough, he's the sort of character that's mad enough to go along with that and find it exciting, and at the same time, there is a redeeming factor in him, and that's his humanity. Somehow, he falls in love with his creature, he falls in love with what he considers his daughter, and he realizes that Charlotte Rampling's character, the High Priestess, wants to use his creation for a bad purpose. And so he wants to save his child. And also he loves her. This creature has become his daughter, and he has a very fatherly feeling towards her. D'Arcandier is a semi-villain. He's a villain in the sense that he has created a sort of monster, and at least his scientific attitude towards research is a little dodgy, definitely, because he has played with something that should not be touched. It opens a very deep question, which is actually being raised right now about how, genetic manipulation. However, he sacrifices himself. He sees the light. He's touched by humanity, and he's touched by the character of Torp as well. He realizes that this man can save not only his creation, but in a way somehow the future of humanity. And he's not someone that wants the destruction of the world. He wants the well-being of humanity. He wants to save Aurora, and he is capable of love. A love that will be strong enough to push him towards self-sacrification. He's ready to be destroyed in order to save his creation. Now, what was also interesting was the work that we did to construct the character physically. First of all, D'Arcandier is supposed to be much older than I am, and so he's supposed to have really much older. And I think Mathieu had in mind much older actors to begin with, and then some strange reason he asked me. So we constructed this face that's aged, and also he's been maimed. He's been. The High Priestesses wanted to kill him, and he has survived that attempt. So he's always connected to a life support machine. He's full of metal everywhere because he's considered dead, but he's survived. So we had a lot of machines, and the costume was really well prepared because he's like a sort of old-fashioned professor in tweeds, but at the same time he's got sort of lots of modern bits everywhere, and he's got microchips under his skin, like a lot of the people who work for him, like all the hackers that work with him. So he's a bit like a sort of Frankenstein monster, and it was great to construct that character. First of all, there is what I discovered about that religion and the people that are behind it, as the character d'Arcandier, is that first of all, there is perhaps a hidden romance in the past between the High Priestess and d'Arcandier. They have something that's very intimate. They've known each other very, very well in the past, and so he realizes that they need a Messiah, but that the purpose of that religion is very much to manipulate the gullibility of the people in order to. Well, it's an organization. It's a trust. They want to make money. It's an internet religion. And it's extremely cynical, and so yes, they need desperately a Virgin Mary, and a Virgin Mary that would be the Messiah, and that would be pregnant with twins, but at the same time, and that's completely cynical from the High Priestess' point of view. She needs it in order to protect, construct, and justify her religion. There's no religion without some sort of miracle. And he realizes very rapidly that she hasn't got at all in mind the well-being of humanity and the redemption of humanity. She just wants to make money. She's a very, very tough, cynical character, and that's what he sees. And that's the most. What he discovers is that she is interested in the most dangerous form of power over humanity, which is the power of fanatics. Also, she's a businesswoman, which is even worse. What is challenging in a science fiction film is to make the characters always believable and human in a way, somehow, because it's easy to go to think, well, it doesn't matter anyway because it's science fiction, so it doesn't matter if I make sense, it doesn't matter if, No, I think science fiction is really touching and makes sense if the characters are still identifiable nowadays by humans. They have to represent a human problem. What was the most difficult for me with d'Arcandier was the fact that he has to explain the entire story, in a way. He is the one that will explain to the audience and to Torup, through his explanation to Torup, what has happened, why is Aurora the way she is, and what the entire fight between him and the High Priestess is about. So it's very difficult to tell a story, it's theoretical in a way, and he is a man who has that mission at the end of the film. He is the one that will explain the story to the audience. It's extremely difficult to act because there's not a lot of action in it. What he has to do is to repair Torup and make sure that Torup will continue taking care of the twins, because he knows that Aurora, whilst dying, or at least giving the impression that she's dying, has sent a message. And so, but that's what he has to solve. But apart from that, his mission as a character within the story is to enlighten the audience. The incredible thing when you work with Mathieu is that he's, of course, like his generation of directors, very, very interested in the visual aspect of things. He's an amazing director in sense of camera positions, camera angles. He's very thrilled by that, and his inventiveness in pure filming technique is extraordinary. At the same time, he likes playing with the story and with the script like it's a piece of clay, and he brings you in. And it's a very, very frightening process, actually, because, you know, it would be much easier to stay at home or in your hotel room and wait for this, you know, for the script to be finished. No. He brings you in, and we had endless conversations about how the scenes should be not rewritten, but remodeled, and it was like a sort of living matter. That, you know, this story and this script. So it was terrifying at the same time and very intense. And he gave me a huge responsibility, especially because my character appears at the end of the film, and therefore it's like asking an actor, well, okay, well, now we have to finish this film, and so now you're going to help me to finish that film and to close the story. Well, that's not my job. It was terrifying. It was a very, very terrifying responsibility. And of course, you know, he didn't listen to my suggestions. He knew exactly where he was going, but he just needed the input, and he's sharing that with you all the time. And that's very exciting and completely terrifying. Vin Diesel has this extraordinary capacity to say, does it make sense? And he's very grounded. I had wonderful discussions with Vin. I think he is a very, very sensitive and intelligent actor who, as we were saying, does not want to be unreal in a story that's stylistic, strong in its style, like science fiction. So he's always asking, does it appear real? He wants to be real all the time. And I love that in an actor, because, you know, we tend to go a bit crazy intellectually and go, oh, you know, it'll work, it'll be fine. And Vin says, I want to make sure that it's real. He wants to be recognizable as a human being, not just a fantasy creature. And that's important and very strong. Also, he's very he's very playful. You know, like American people are very often, and he's a good partner in that sense. You know, he's fun. He's a lot of fun, and also he's serious in his dedication to the work, and also yes, he wanted to be. He wanted to make sense. He also doesn't like it when there's too much dialogue, which I think is a great sense of cinema. Cinema should not have too much text, and very often actors, they just love speaking, and Vin just gets rid of his dialogue all the time. Is the film pessimistic? Is it a vision of the world? Well, I think it's definitely a vision of a world as it's going to be very soon, because there is one element that's very striking. People are armed everywhere. I mean, you know, he's a mercenary, Torp is a mercenary, but, you know, he's always seeing people in the street. You see that in the film, you know, everybody's carrying weapons. It's like the Balkans a few years ago, but it's like a generalized situation everywhere in the world. And so there's a lot of violence. There's a lot of injustice in this planet that you see. A lot of poor people that are trying to migrate, very cold cities with people with a lot of power. At the same time, the film is optimistic because the solution lies, as it always does in a way, in love. And so the message is a message of love at the end. The solution is not an easy one. There's not a lot of room to act within to reach a good solution. It's very tricky and very dangerous for Torup, but there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's a very human light. It's based on love.